In the gloom, the longhouse feels empty, but it is filled with the odors of rust, tar, and animal fur, and the snoring of dogs. It is the man named Erik who speaks, smacking scarred fingers together for emphasis, the steam of his breath mingling with the wood smoke. He fills the men's heads with legends of exploration and raiding, of a sea that eats longbows, and an undiscovered country ripe for Viking occupation. He tells the Vikings that they can leave their frigid homeland and sail across the endless sea of worms to a new world brimming with wild grain, grapes, and tall trees. To the Vikings, he speaks of paradise, and of course the grizzled Norsemen are always eager for adventure. When he asks for volunteers, men slam their weapons on tables and shout his name in the cold air. Erik the Red smiles.
It has been a hard winter, and the wolves are hungry. We must protect our villages from their packs.
Buin, Bobord. Ja. Buin. Ja. Bobord. Autilagi. Til bardaga. Buin. Ja.
To build enough longships for this journey, we'll need gold, and lots of it. There's plenty in the fishing villages of Britain for the taking.
Buin.
Ja, Bord. Autilagi. Vil jeg.
Hear that howl? That one's the king of the wolves. He can take down an army of our Norsemen.
Autilagi. Ja. Vil jeg. Autilagi. Vil jeg. Ja. Autilagi. Ja. Buin. Ja.
Buin. Buandi. Ja, hushas mifer.
Bobord. Ja. Radida. Buin.
The British keep their gold in these markets. Burn all you can and carry the gold back to our ships.
Ja, vil jeg. Bobord.
Legends have spoken of this place, the Sea of Worms. The waters here are alive and eager to chew through the hulls of our longships.
Ja, vil jeg.
We should sail clear of this
Radida.
place, even if it means crossing Greenland by foot.
Autilagi. Buin. Bobord. Ja.
So this is the Isle of Greenland. We should be able to find food and wood here to replenish our fleet.
Ja, ja!
You wish to see the Sea of Worms? Look upon it and despair. The New World. I claim it in the name of Erik the Red. To establish our settlement here, we will need to construct a town center, a market, and 12 houses. Wild men live in these forests, calling themselves the Skraeling. They don't have steel like ours, but they're fierce and they have numbers. It will be a long and bloody winter.
Bothothr Attilagi Hushashmither Hushashmither Hushashmither.
The name of Erik the Red will never be forgotten as the first Viking in the New World.
Much of the Viking history is recorded in oral accounts called sagas, passed down through generations. Two of the most famous sagas are reserved for the adventures of Erik the Red and his men, who crossed the mighty sea in tiny ships to forge a new Viking sovereignty. Vinland, as the New World was called, was not kind to the Vikings. Although they lacked the iron weapons of the Norsemen, the native Skraeling were fierce warriors who fought relentlessly to defend their homeland against the Norse invaders. The vastness of the North Atlantic cut the Vikings in Newfoundland off from their homeland, and they suffered many long years while trying to establish their new colony.
Shouts of assent ring around the hall as the sons of Ragnar finish speaking, and ravens fly upwards, eager to bring good tidings to the Aesir. Moments later, the sky flashes with lightning and booms with thunder, signaling the approval of the gods. Days later, the mustering begins. Kings, jarls, warriors, and common folk alike gather, eager to seek vengeance on the Northumbrian king Aila for the dishonorable slaying of Ragnar. Ivar, one of Ragnar's sons, has sworn to carve the blood eagle on Aila in retribution. It is a sight to behold. Hundreds of longships bear crews of valiant Norsemen and enough supplies to last the army months. The Valkyries look on, for they will soon swell Odin's hall with brave warriors who fall in the coming battles. Ragnar's sons approach a small band of warriors with a dangerous but important quest: to scout the British Isles and establish a camp. When the army arrives, it will need a secure base from which to strike out against the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms that dominate the British mainland. Thor is pleased, for the seas are benign and the winds favorable, allowing the longships a serene passage across the North Sea. As they near York, the seat of Northumbria, the sound of the sea mingles with the grinding of axes. Skalds eagerly prepare to craft the verses for a saga that will be passed down until the end of time.
There lies our target, the fortified city of York.
We must find a safe location to land and wait for the rest of our mighty brethren to arrive before we seek Valhalla together.
My lord, we have scouted the British Isles. Far-seeing Odin has showed us several sites where we can strike our tents.
Let us make haste and disembark. Our presence must go unnoticed, for now.
Villeg. Ja.
Skål! Our camp is complete. Quickly, muster a force. Soon the sails of our brothers will draw near, and we will wet our axes with Saxon blood.
Hark! Look to the sea. Thor and Jord, favor us, for our army has arrived. Praise upon the Aesir! Our victory is complete!
Favored by Odin and Thor, the Vikings watered the ground with the blood of their enemies, seizing vast amounts of plunder and fertile land. The stench of smoke and death filled the air as hapless victims foolishly turned to their altars instead of their swords. The haughty Anglo-Saxons met their match at the hands of ruthless Viking warriors, eager to earn their place at Odin's table. True to their word, Ragnar's sons carved the blood eagle into the back of the cowardly Ayla as a warning to any who might think of opposing them. Ragnar's sons settled the land that they had conquered, eventually establishing a state known as the Danelaw. For the next 2 centuries, Dane and Saxon would live as neighbors, sometimes at war, sometimes in peace, until the Saxon victory over the Norse at Stamford Bridge in 1066 foiled the last Viking invasion of England.
Mercenaries and Norman knights look dubiously at the ships that wobble in the black, fog-choked sea. What man is this Duke William to put so many horses on leaky transports? William ignores their questioning glances and stares across the channel in the direction of England. Edward the Confessor is dead, and now 3 men claim rulership of England. Harold the Saxon sits on the English throne, and even now hastens to fortify his shores against 2 invasions. Harald Hardrada, king of Denmark and Norway, sends Vikings from the north as William invades from the south. The outcome of this 3-way conflict is as murky as the fog that shrouds the English Channel. Harold the Saxon's housecarls are professional soldiers, not mercenaries. William's only chance is to use heavy cavalry. To do so, he must first get all of these horses onto these unreliable boats. The future of England is about to be decided.
The Saxons have the British Isles well fortified. We'll need to transport our knights across the channel and use them to defend our builders. Norman castles should hold back the Saxon tide, both here and on Britain. Harold the Saxon has taken to the seas. We can't let his navy control the English Channel, or we'll never succeed in our invasion.
William of Normandy, you and I have no quarrel. It's Harold the Saxon who's the enemy of us both. If you declare me an ally, I'll do likewise with thee.
down off those horses and see how Huskars fight man to man!
Must so?
Go home, young William. This island will remain Saxon.
All hail William the Conqueror, King of England and Normandy!
Harold the Saxon's housecarls looked certain to defend the crown for him as they fought the Vikings to a bloody stalemate at Stamford Bridge. Despite his losses, Harold marched his exhausted troops south to meet William the Conqueror near Hastings. William's archers and pikemen were no match for Harold the Saxon's veteran housecarls. Harold even broke the charge of William's knights. William himself went down in the fray, and as rumors of his death spread, the Normans turned to flee. William was not dead, however, and he rallied his troops by throwing aside his helmet so they could see his clean-shaven face and know he was alive. William and his armored knights rode down the housecarls, breaking the Saxon force, and continued their ride all the way to London. William was crowned king on Christmas Day. Because his reign eventually ushered England into a position of unprecedented world leadership, the year 1066 became established as the most famous day in English history. The rains come again until there is nothing left of road, wood, or field, nothing in the entire world but mud. The exhausted English soldiers hoist their longbows over their heads, trying to protect the precious yew wood from the water. The empty wagons can scarcely roll forward, even though all the supplies have long been eaten. Terrifying hoofbeats resound from the rear. The French knights have come. The English have been in a slow retreat ever since the debacle at Harfleur, where King Henry V's glorious siege dragged on and on, costing the lives of 3,000 Englishmen. Now, Henry has all but abandoned his dream of establishing his hereditary claim to the French crown. Like his men, he only wants to reach Calais and the ships that will return them home to England. On the road back to Calais, the French army overtakes Henry. Knowing that the English are fatigued, starving, and outnumbered 3-1, the French have no interest in negotiation. The English make their stand on a wooded hilltop. The archers plant stakes in the ground to offer some barrier against the deadly French cavalry. Henry's only hope is that his lightly armored infantry prove more nimble than the impetuous French knights, and that the range of his archers can even the odds before the French horses are upon them.
My king, the siege of Harfleur is lost. We should withdraw before our casualties are too great.
Mandatum? Yea. Ready. Ik willen. Yes. Mandatum? Yea.
The French will undoubtedly harry our retreat. We must make haste to a transport, so that our King Henry will once again see beloved England.
Yes. Batal! Ik willen. Yea. Ready. Yes. Mandatum? Ik willen. Yes.
'Tis as I feared. This bridge has been destroyed.
Ready. Ik willen. Mandatum? Batal! Batal!
Boyen is known for its learning. Perhaps we can recover something from the university here.
Yea. Ready.
The castle of Agincourt lies down this road. We will likely face many French knights. The fighting will be fierce.
If we are marked to die, we are enow to do our country's loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor.
Yes. Mandatum? Ik willen. Yea, yea. Ready. Ik willen. Mandatum? Yea. Yes. Ik willen. Ready. Yes.
Today is St. Crispin's Day, and every year from now on, you will be able to show your scars and say that you were here with me on St. Crispin's Day. He today who sheds his blood with me shall be my brother.
We'll see how these French knights stand up to English longbows.
Come down here in the mud, and you'll see how the French knights fight.
Ready. Ik willen. Mandatum? Batal! Yea. Ready. Yes. Fight!
North along the road, men! North, and then west to the docks!
Yea. Yes. Yes. Yea. Mandatum? Ik willen. Ready. Yes. Mandatum? Ik willen.
A trebuchet. If we could capture it, the castle of Agincourt will pose little danger.
Yea. Ready. Batal! Yea. Batal! Mandatum? Fight!
Excellent. The French will regret allowing this to fall into our hands.
Mandatum? Yes.
Quickly now, my king. Board and set sail for beloved England.
Yes. Yea. Batal! Ready. Fight! Yea. Ready. Mandatum? Yes.
England! A sweet sight! King Henry is almost home.
Ready. Yea.
The Battle of Agincourt is remembered not because it was an inevitable triumph, but because it was an upset. Outnumbered English longbows were victorious over French knights only because the knights had to charge up a muddy hill through a dense forest. The English wore little armor and were able to catch the encumbered French in the middle of their retreat. A charge by Henry and his surviving cavalry pushed aside the beaten French and opened the road to the coast. Despite his victory, Henry did not follow through on his attack, but withdrew to England. The true winner of the battle was Burgundy, which was able to come to power in a vacuum emptied by both the English and the French. It is impossible to imagine the world ending on such a fine fall day. Yet the storm of Muslim horsemen continues to rage throughout Europe, leaving conquered cities and shattered armies stunned in its wake. The lightning-quick strikes of the Muslim horsemen break the city of Bordeaux and then Poitiers, leaving precious little of the Frankish kingdom to defend. Yet Charles Martel gathers the disheartened Frankish army for one last stand at the city of Tours. Arabic horses, bred for speed and beauty, begin to splash across the Vienne River. Martel's knights and swordsmen, trudging under the weight of iron mail, struggle to interpose themselves between the Muslims and the city of Tours. Carrion birds circle in the air, anticipating the savagery to come. The rest of Europe watches anxiously, for this is the climax of the Muslim invasion and the last stand of Christian Europe.
The Muslims are advancing slowly, but we will not have long before they are at the walls of Tours. Poitiers has fallen already.
Pray.
Artisan.
We have reached Poitiers. The Muslim baggage train is protected inside. If we can capture it, they will retreat back from whence they came.
The soul of the Frankish army was its knights, but Charles Martel knew that his cavalry, undisciplined, buried under the weight of weapons and armor, could not match the swiftness of the Muslim riders. Therefore, he ordered the knights to dismount and join ranks with the Frankish swordsmen, to form a tight shield wall. The Muslims had always conquered with swift defensiveness and were not equipped to counter the French defensive strategy. The arrows of the Muslim archers bounced harmlessly off the heavy Frankish armor, and the light Muslim cavalry could not breach the human chain. Battered and bleeding, the invaders broke ranks and fled back to the Pyrenees and the protection of Spain. From Charles Martel's Frankish kingdom eventually grew the Holy Roman Empire, making him the founding father of both Germany and France.